Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Thanks for joining me today. So this is the second part of a series, a new series that I thought I would start. I'm going to be showing you each week how to make one do-it-yourself survival tool. And I figured probably I'll just do it each Friday of each week if that works. So last week we did the fire starters. I showed you how to make the fire starters out of the paraffin wax and the cotton rounds. And this week we're going to be making its counterpart, the Firesteel. So these are a little bit more complicated to make, but you know, with a little practice, yeah, you can get them down packed, and they just turn out to be, you can just keep getting craftier and craftier with these things until they get really nice. So I'm just going to go ahead and show you the simple tools you're going to need. So first thing you're going to need is a pencil, sharp pencil, and then either a tape measure, or I got one of these small measuring sticks that just can give me measurements on smaller increments. So I like to use these. This is kind of totally optional, but it's just a brass tube. Sometimes I'll put it through the lanyard hole, and it just kind of gives it a nice little finished brass look. But again, this is optional. The other thing you'll definitely need is some two-part epoxy. This is JB Weld, and you want to make sure that you get the fast drying epoxy, and I'll show you why when we get to that part. The other thing you might need is some polyurethane. It's not totally necessary. Some woods require a urethane finish, and some woods require you could just do like a boiled linseed oil, like a rub or something like that. But the wood I'm going to be working with today is it's a hardwood. This is called coyote wood. And if you want, and I probably recommend, is try to locate like an exotic hardwood store in your town. We have one here. Usually you can find it. Otherwise, you can order exotic wood through Amazon or just on eBay, online somewhere. And then you'll probably end up having to get yourself and with this hardwood, I had to use a table saw, and I just cut the hardwood into 1x1 blocks. And this is pretty much what I'm going to be starting with. And then I cut them down to, for these fire starters, I cut them down to like 2-inch lengths. So that's one thing you're going to need. The other thing you're going to need is some type of nail set or like a puncturing device, and that is to establish the hole that you're going to drill in. So it's kind of critical. Probably the most critical part of making these Firesteels is making sure that when you drill the hole that it's perfectly straight and it's completely straight up and down. And the best way to achieve that is to make sure that when your drill is going into your wood, that it's perfectly straight and it's not going to wobble off and start giving you a skewed hole. So the other thing you're going to need are some drill bits, and then you'll definitely need a drill press, I think. You may be able to do it with a hand drill, but that would be extremely difficult. So today we're going to be working with these Firesteels. These are 5/16 round Firesteels, and you can order these on bulk on either Amazon or eBay. And like all my videos, I'll go ahead and make sure to leave links in the description of the video as to where you can order these. But they're relatively cheap. You probably get them for $1 a piece, or maybe just a little over $1 a piece. So usually I buy them in bulk. I'll buy them by the dozen. And again, this is one of those projects that you can not only use and make for your survival kit, but you can also sell these. You can either sell them online or you can sell them on a home show, but it's just kind of a way to, just a fun way to make money. So there's that. And I'm trying to think if there's anything else. Obviously, you're going to need a hammer to puncture your nail set. And then the last thing you're going to need is a sander. So my sander is over here, located over here. And once I get going building these things, I'll show you my sander here. But you could probably get away with doing it with a hand sander too. It'd just take a little bit longer. But if you start out with some like some 60 grit sandpaper and maybe glue it to a surface. So I got some 220 here. This is just what I finish the Firesteels off with after everything's sanded down for the most part. And you just glue it down, and you could probably shape your handle just by rubbing the Firesteel on the sandpaper. So anyways, I'm gonna go ahead and get this camera resituated and show you how I make one of these things. All right, stay tuned. Okay, so the first thing you're going to want to do is establish your center point. So I'm going to go ahead and take my measuring stick here, and I'm just going to put it right up against the edge. And like I said, I just definitely recommend, I mean, you can make the handle however way you want. It doesn't have to be straight. I'm just kind of being, you know, kind of a perfectionist here. But anyways, I put this measuring stick right up against the side of my block, and it's, like I said, it's always easy to just work with 1 by 1 inch blocks. It just makes measuring easier. So I'm going to go ahead and scribe a line there, and then I'm going to come back on this side, do the same thing. There, so now that way I know exactly where this drill bit needs to go from top to bottom. And then I'm going to go ahead and bring that line up on the top here. Line it up to the side. I got myself a line in coordinates with this line. So then the other thing we're going to do is I'm just going to go ahead and go making an X, or a cross, I should say. I'm just establishing the point where I'm going to start my hole. So I'm going to go ahead, draw a line, come back the other way, and I'm just doing this. It just kind of, I'm splitting the difference here, just making sure that I'm perfectly center on this piece of wood here. This wood actually isn't perfectly square, so but it doesn't really matter too much. It just helps when you're shaping it. So anyways, there I got my center point there. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my nail set, my hole punch, and I'm just going to line it right on the top. Should probably put my glasses on, make it a lot easier. And go ahead, I'm on my center point. And I'm going to strike it. There. Now I got a nice starter hole, and then that way my drill bit can go right in there, and it's not gonna, when it starts, it's not gonna wobble off. It's already gonna stay right in that little hole. So, all right, now I'm gonna bring this over to the drill press and get a hole drilled in here. Okay, so the other thing I probably forgot to mention is that you'll need, and this again, this isn't totally critical. It's just one of those things that helps a lot, you know, to get a nice straight hole. Is a vise block. So this one actually isn't like, okay, I gotta lower this a little bit. Just barely have enough room with this tiny little drill press, but it'll do. I ended up having a leak in my shop, and it kind of rusted up my my vise here, but it's still working. All right, now I'm going to go ahead and line my drill bit with the hole. Make sure it looks all perfectly center. We're good. This is all tight. Make sure that my piece of wood is perfectly straight. All right. Like I said, you guys, this is like the trickiest part. And, you know, it doesn't have to be perfect. I'm just doing it that way. And I probably still won't get it perfect. It's pretty difficult to achieve. Okay, so now we're ready. I'm going to go ahead and turn the drill press on and start my hole. I'm probably only going to go down maybe, I don't know, probably 3/4 of an inch. You don't have to go down too far. Because this drill bit's pretty, it gives it just enough room. So you want a little bit of play. You don't want to drill a hole that's so tight that you can barely get your ferrocerium rod inside the wood. You want there to be a little play because you're going to be putting the epoxy in there, and you're going to want that epoxy to be able to not completely bleed out when you get in there. So, all right, I'm going to get this started here. Looks good. All right, there it is. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and move over here and put my ferrocerium rod in there. Okay, so here we are. Like I said, this is my belt sander I have here. You can use a regular belt sander, but this is the one I have. These are actually not as expensive as you would think. It's maybe like a little over $100. You can get them at Harbor Freight if you're looking to save money. But like I said, pretty much the only reason I even use this is to make these Firesteels. It's pretty much the only reason I even bought this. So same with the drill press. So like I said, first thing you want to do is you want to go ahead and just kind of eyeball that, kind of look where you need to start sanding. I'm just going to start taking the corners off of this block here, and it's just kind of a process where you sand, you put your Firesteel back in, you hand it up, you just kind of eyeball it, sand a little bit more, put your Firesteel back in, line it up, and just keep sanding and sanding until you have your handle is nice and straight with the Firesteel. So, all right. Okay, now I'm about ready to go ahead and put the lanyard hole here. So I have my handle back in the vise. I have it nice and straight. A lot of this, I'm just kind of eyeballing it for straightness. I mean, at the end of the day, that's all really anybody's gonna, when you look to see this, if this is straight, it's really just your eye. So I'm just going to kind of trust my eye on this. Get this in the block. Make sure it's up and down. That's not going to move. I should have probably said too, the size bits that I'm using specifically for these 5/16 Firesteel rods, you're going to want to use a 21/64 bit. And this is the perfect, this gives you the perfect size hull. And then as far as the lanyard, it's not really that critical, you know, just so long as your paracord or whatever lanyard material you're going to use can fit through the hole. But for today, I am using, let's see what size bit. I think this is 17/64 size bit. So, all right, let's go ahead and drill this. And always drill really slow when you're drilling your holes. Make sure I'm still straight. Uh-oh. Move that a little bit. Okay, we're through. All right. So it's splintered a little bit, but that's okay. We're going to go ahead and sand that out. And I'm going to bring this back over to the sander, sand this a little more, and then go from there. All right. Okay, so I came up with a pretty nifty solution to that little goof I made. So like I said, I told you I drilled my hole bad the first time, so I ended up with a hole. I didn't want to waste a piece of wood, so I ended up with a hole in the top. And then when I put my lanyard hole in the center here on the side, it went through, it connected to this top one. So I ended up just, putting my lanyard and kind of this fancy configuration. I don't know if you see that, but basically just ran the paracord one side up through the lanyard hole and then up the top, and I fished it out with a little dental tool, kind of like a little hook tool. I was able to fish the paracord up through the center hole, and then that way it just kind of hangs straight up through the center. So anyways, that might be a new thing that I might start doing. So, okay, so I got that all done. Now all the hard part is over with. Now I just have to go ahead and epoxy my Firesteel in the handle and do a little bit more fine tuning and then a couple coats of urethane, and this thing will be done. So I'm going to go ahead and move over to the bench and show you how I get the Firesteel epoxied in. Okay, so first thing I want to do here, just to show you this part, I'm going to go ahead and cut off the excess to my lanyard necklace here. I'm just going to go ahead and cut the tops off. So I just basically tied these in a regular square knot. You can get paracord, you can get these little locks. They're pretty cheap. You can order these, and you basically just put your paracord in there, melt it, and then it hooks. It's just kind of like a two-port locking mechanism that are basically designed just for paracord necklaces. But for today, I'm just going to go ahead and tie it in a knot, and I'm going to cut this excess here and then go ahead and melt the top so it doesn't fray. I just kind of distribute the heat all around there. Pinch it a little bit. I do that a few times just to make sure it's all nice and melted and even. It's not going to fray too much. So that is how that is going to be finished at the top there. And all right, we'll go ahead and get the Firesteel epoxied in. So like I said, this is JB Weld. It's just a part A, part B resin hardener epoxy. And you just kind of, there's no real science to it, although it's super cold in here. So this is going to be pretty difficult to get out. And you don't need a whole lot. This stuff is so strong that you don't need much. Plus, the hole in here is pretty tight, so it's not going to take much. About that much. That's pretty much all we need. And then get yourself a stir stick, and usually a toothpick is the best way to go. I don't have a toothpick, so I'm just going to carve a little piece off here. Give that a good stir like that. One thing I forgot to mention, it's a good thing to do. It's not 100% necessary, but it's going to make it easier to set this Firesteel inside this hole. Is I'm going to go ahead and sand a little divot right there. And then that way when I put this in the hole, the air, because this is basically like a plunger, the air has somewhere to escape. So I don't want this to be like a perfectly round peg going into a perfectly round hole. Otherwise, it's just going to create like a like an air bubble, and I'll have a hard time kind of getting this all the way down seated correctly. So I'm going to go ahead and put a little chink right in there, and then I'll be back. Okay, I'm back. I don't know if you can see that, but I basically just put sanded a little flat spot there, and that just gives the air somewhere to escape. All right, so like I said, the other reason why it's good to use this quick dry stuff is that way it just isn't leaking. The slow stuff tends to want to drip and leak everywhere, and so what I'm trying to do is just kind of get that nice and coated inside the handle there. And we're going to go ahead and take our Firesteel and just kind of give it a little spin and push. That's about it. I'm going to keep kind of spinning it until I see a nice little bead of epoxy kind of form around the edge of this. I don't know if you can see that. But that's about how I like it. Like I said, this stuff is so strong. Once it sets, it's not going anywhere. The other reason why I like to kind of sand the Firesteel a little bit before I put it in there is it gives it a little bit more tooth and allows that epoxy to set and get an even better bite on that Firesteel. So, all right, now I'm going to let that dry, and then we'll be back to sand this a little bit more, and then finish it with the polyurethane. Okay, stay tuned. Okay, we're back. It's been about a half hour or so. I know this epoxy says 5 minutes, but it's definitely not 5 minutes. It's more like at least a half hour to an hour to cure, and then just to where you can kind of handle it. And then you probably need like a full 24 hours for this to like completely cure to where it's just rock solid. So, but I'm not going to be doing much with it. It's going to compromise the bond So, like I said, I'm just going to kind of do a light sand here. This just works out the, just kind of fine tuning it a little bit here. Getting some of the lines from the sander, from the belt sander out of it. Was a little tricky getting this lanyard in. I will say I ended up having to use like one of these little dental tools and kind of getting in there and pulling up the paracord through this hole, but I think it turned out really good. So yeah, I might just make some more Firesteels just like this. Kind of has a really cool look. Like I said, these things, you know, it's just a great way to kind of make a supplemental income. You can make these and sell them either locally, or you can sell them on online marketplace or eBay. So yeah, if anybody's interested in this one, I'm probably going to go ahead and list this on my eBay store. So we'll leave a link in the description for that. Probably should have washed my hands. This wood that I'm using, this coyote wood, is very oily wood, and when I originally started working with it, I was finishing it with boiled linseed oil, and it just didn't take. It just got really cloudy, and so I ended up just going to a polyurethane. And this is the polyurethane I use. It's just a fast drying polyurethane. It's a clear satin. You know, and the thing about urethanes, like I said, my profession, I am a painting contractor full time, so I'm pretty familiar with urethanes and clear coats. And with the urethanes, so polyurethanes, what I like too about them is you can thin these way down with mineral spirits, like 30, 40, 50%, and use it as a wipe-on polyurethane. And that's what I like to do. That's actually what this is. I've thinned it down pretty well. I also heated it up, and it allows it to just melt better once I put it on the surface. But when you thin down the urethanes, what it allows it to do is it allows it to penetrate even deeper into your wood, and it just makes it a lot stronger. So this is a pretty strong wood to begin with. It's pretty hard to sand. It's not like pine, but it is susceptible to kind of chipping. I'm not sure why. I'm not super familiar with this type of wood, but you'll see when I put the clear coat on here, it is beautiful. It's a very deep, rich red, mahogany looking kind of wood. So, you know, in that regard, I like it. It just has a nice, neat look and beautiful grain that kind of goes through it. So, yeah, so I usually end up finishing these off with at least 2 or 3 coats of the polyurethane. So, just going to kind of fine tune this a little bit more, and then we'll be back to finish it up. Okay, I have this all sanded, and I'm just going to go ahead and kind of dip my rag here into my urethane and just wipe it on like that. See, that just brings that color out. And yeah, this wipe on urethane, I use it on everything. I built a big kitchen table last year, and this is all I use, just wipe on urethane. You can buy the polyurethane as a wipe on urethane, but I think all it really is just thinned down polyurethane. That's all they do with it. But I like it because it gives it just kind of a more I just like the look. I don't like stuff that's too shiny. I like it when it's just in between satin and flat. Almost kind of gives it like a nice matte finish. So, and what else is nice about it is after some time goes by and say the handle starts wearing out, you just kind of put another coat of urethane on there and it's good to go. And like I said, the polyurethane just makes the wood a lot stronger. The more coats you put on it, the stronger it gets. So, all right, this one is looking about done here. So, yeah, there it is. All right, everyone, I hope you enjoyed this episode. Like I said, I'll probably be selling this Firesteel at my eBay store. So if anybody's interested in that, I'll just leave a link in the description. But yeah, like I said, I mean, this is just an awesome addition to your survival kit or your bug out bag. They're pretty easy to make. You don't have to make them like this. I mean, obviously, I have all the tools. It doesn't have to be this straight. You can make these. You know, the handle you can make out of anything. I have some stuff out of pine. Is probably if you're gonna learn and experiment and practice, I would say go ahead and just get yourself some pine and work with the pine first because it's cheaper, it's softer, you can work with it faster. And then yeah, so I make these out of pine. I make them out of oak. I've made them out of micarta and stuff like that. So they also make great gifts, so great holiday gifts. And like I said, in combination with the fire starters that we made last week, it's just a great gift idea, or just something you can sell at your local home show or whatever. And it's just really fun to do. So, all right, everyone. I hope you enjoyed the show. Next week, we'll be making small game snares. So you definitely want to stay tuned for that one. All right, until the next one, you guys, stay prepared. The other thing I'm doing here is I'm kind of getting down eye level with this sander. And that way I can see exactly where my Firesteel is. And I can keep sanding this block so that it stays straight with my Firesteel. I just keep spinning it and taking the edges off. And once I get to a certain point where I had this sanded down and I know everything's going to be straight, I'm going to start tapering the handle in towards the Firesteel, and that way it just gives it more of like an ergonomic feel to it. So obviously I'm not going to show you all this. I'll just go ahead and speed it up and edit it, and then once I'm getting close to finish, I'll go ahead and get the video camera rolling again. Okay, so I've got this pretty well sanded down, pretty much the shape I want. I ended up kind of messing this one up a little bit. Like I said, I haven't done these in a while, so but I think I'm gonna do something kind of creative with it. But my first hole wasn't that straight, so I had to re-drill it. So I got a bit of a hole in the back there, but I think I'm going to do something creative. I think I'm going to try to put something in there, like maybe, I don't know, I haven't thought about it, but I can put some epoxy in there and just fill it full of epoxy, and you won't even see it. And I don't know, maybe I'll put some. I have these glow in the dark. I have these like little glow in the dark chips I bought. Little blocks. I think I'm going to try to cut a little piece of this off and round it and stick it in there, and then that way it'll have like a little glow in the dark feature to it. So anyways, I'm going to keep shaping this. I'm actually, like I said, I'm almost pretty much got it where I want it. Everything looks real nice and even. I just made this one circular. Obviously, you can, I don't know if you can see that I put a taper on there, so it's more ergonomic. It just kind of fits in the hand better. But almost, so I'm going to go ahead and sand these top edges, get this all cleaned up and around here. And then it's ready to, we're ready to put a lanyard hold in here. So, all right, stay tuned.